So up to this point, we've done a few basics with the ActionScript. We've learned how to make a trace statement, how to create text, how to create simple graphics even, and we've learned how to refer to items in our library. Well, now we're going to take this just a little bit of a step further and show you how to animate objects from the library simply using code. And this might be familiar to you if you've ever used the timeline. You can create, two different points and then have an object animate from point A to point B. That's essentially what we're doing here, except it's all going to be done in code. And there's advantages to this, especially since code is such a huge part of creating games. So first, you'll need a new document. If you want to refer to the completed code, you can open up the work file 0209 _ animating symbols. But once you have your new ActionScript 3.0 document open, we will need to create a symbol. So very quickly, I'll just grab the oval tool and draw out an oval and highlight it and hit F8. And I'll name it ball and then hit enter, making sure, of course, it is a movie clip symbol. So now we can just delete the ball from the stage just by clicking it and hitting the delete key on your keyboard. I'll name this layer actions, and now we can begin the coding process. But first, also make sure that you have your linkage name set to ball, just the same as your movie clip. So now I can open up my actions panel. And to begin, we'll need to declare a variable. So var ball, and then a colon, and then we will refer to the linkage name. So capital B on ball equals new ball, 2 parentheses, and a semicolon. Next, we'll define the position of the variable. So in this case, we'll put an X property of 100, and then a Y property of 200. And that, again, should be very familiar up to this point. And we'll need to add this variable or this movie clip onto the stage by using add child, and then we will close it off with a semicolon. So now, at this point, this code simply adds the ball to the stage. And we've done that before by referring to library items. But now we're going to create an add event listener that will basically listen in for an event to animate the ball. In this case, we want to just create an add event listener that simply triggers the event on enter _ frame. This will basically say, okay, when we hit this frame, this ActionScript is on, we will start the code. And in this case, it's right away, so we're going to see this play out right away. And we also need to define the function name, so we'll call it animate ball, and then close it off with a parentheses and a semicolon. Now we need to define the actual function, so function animate ball, it will be an event, close the parentheses off, and then we will create the brackets, and then we simply put in ball.x, and then plus equals, and then 7. And then you can just close it off with a semicolon. You'll notice sometimes I'll put spaces in between things, and that actually doesn't really matter. It just kind of depends on how you want to organize it. You could even just do it like this if you didn't want any spaces at all. But it just kind of depends on how you want to do it. Some programmers put spaces even in between their parentheses. Just again, depends on how you want to look at the code. So once you have created this, and this number can be adjusted. Let's just put in 3 for right now, and then we can hit Control Enter. You can see it's moving, but it's moving pretty slowly, and that's because it's going 3 pixels every time it basically refreshes this frame. If we put in 12, you can see it goes a lot quicker. And so that will allow you to control the speed of the ball. And if you want, from there, you could even do more intricate stuff, saying like, okay, well, when you get to a certain frame, then you can stop and so on. And we'll, of course, be diving into much more advanced techniques once we start programming our actual games.